for our latest Chairman's Update this week. And as I've been doing the last several weeks, we are taking each week in these updates one or two sections of the 2024 Washington State GOP platform that was passed at our convention, our state convention in April, and talking about them for a minute, as well as linking to the language of each of the sections in comments that will be below this video. Today, we're talking about sections 10 and 11 of the WAGOP platform. Section 10 is our support for families, and section 11 is our support for quality education, K-12 education. And obviously, those two issues to Republicans go together, support for families and quality education. Of course, the state party has been supporting good K-12 education reform for years. We believe, as the state constitution says, that a high-quality basic education for all the children of Washington State is the paramount duty of the state government here in Washington. We believe that, and we are really disappointed with how poorly current political majorities in Washington have managed K-12 education. And we believe that this comes back to the section 10 of the platform, the matter of supporting families. We believe that the support for the nuclear family, however you define it specifically, goes hand in hand and is synergistically supportive with quality education. You can't really separate those two values. We want to support families by creating an economy in our state that encourages economic growth and the good jobs, career jobs that go with economic growth. Washington for generations has been great economically, a great place to live, a great place to raise a family, a great place to have your career, work your life, and even retire after you're done working. We have endangered those things with bad public policy in the last couple of decades. We've screwed up our tax policy so badly that the cost of living has skyrocketed here in Washington. And we have done things with regulatory overreach that have made the economic engine that has allowed so much wealth to grow here to stall. Now, none of these problems are unfixable. We can fix them. But really, that's a matter of tax policy and regulatory policy, which we've addressed separately. The point here is that you have to have an economy that works for everyone in order to support families. And although my colleagues in the legislature on the left wing of the political spectrum talk about an economy that includes everyone, their policies go the different direction. Their policies invariably include regressive taxes that hurt working families the most. We want to flatten all that out, make it easier to live here, make it easier to find a good job here, make it easier for a family to stay together here. Now, I can't talk about our support for families without talking about Initiative 2081, the Parents' Bill of Rights, which is the most significant piece of legislation, the most significant new law that supports families that we've had in Washington in decades. It started out as an initiative. You probably supported it. The Washington State Republican Party supported it for sure. It was one of the initiatives to the legislature, and although initially the majorities in Olympia had said they were not going to give a hearing or vote to the Parental Bill of Rights, they folded, which was good. They came around, and they agreed to give the initiative a hearing and eventually a vote in both the chambers of the legislature. 2081, the Parents' Bill of Rights passed unanimously out of the state Senate and nearly unanimously out of the state House into law. Unsurprisingly, a group of left-wing zealots represented by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, sued to prevent the Parents' Bill of Rights from taking effect as law and staying in law. I remember when the ACLU actually defended civil liberties They've become something wholly different these days. They lost their initial motions to prevent the Parents' Bill of Rights from taking law. It did take effect as law. They got a partial win lately where they got the court to hold a couple of parts of the Parents' Bill of Rights pending a final outcome of their lawsuit. But the majority, the bulk of the Parents' Bill of Rights remains in force as law. Even the liberal Seattle judge acknowledged that it stayed as law. And significantly, the part of the new law that says in state law that parents are the primary stakeholders in the upbringing of their children stays in law, and that's important. And parents, in legal terms, means parents or guardians. So this is an important win for protecting families and supporting families in Washington. And then on to the section 11 of the platform where we talk about quality education. The Washington State Republicans will always support keeping K-12 education in local control with locally elected school boards. We feel very strongly that locally elected school boards are and should be the decision makers about K-12 policy. We, in the state government, provide the resources and basic guidelines for running a K-12 system, but the local school boards really should be the deciders. State law says that the school boards have broad discretionary power for making decisions about educating kids in their districts. That broad discretionary power is as powerful a standard of policymaking as the governor or anyone else has, and I think that needs to be defended. I think if we respect locally elected school boards to make key decisions, we will see a lot less bad action out of people like Chris Reichtel, the current superintendent of public instructions at the state level. I think that fella has outlived his usefulness as superintendent, and I think, although he's running for re-election, I think he's going to have trouble there. We as Republicans, like David Olson, a school board member out of the Peninsula School District in Pierce County, who's running with our endorsement and support for state school superintendent. We like Olson. He believes, obviously, in local control, as having been a local school board member. He also believes in returning our schools to a focus on basic education, reading, writing, math, and hard sciences, not a bunch of social engineering mumbo-jumbo. And we think that if Olson gets in as superintendent, he will help locally elected school boards do better, get better results for kids in schools, and I think that will stop the exodus, the flight of kids, families out of our public school districts. Enrollment in public schools around the state is down, and that issue is getting worse, in fact, and that's creating some budget and financial problems for school districts because much of the resources that they receive are based on their enrollment numbers, and as enrollment goes down, their money goes down. We think Olson and a return to focus on basic education will bump those enrollment numbers back up and return our public schools in Washington to where they were 20 years ago, near the top in this nation instead of the middle or lower half where they are now. We need to do better to support families and support K-12 education, and we have our project to save basic ed, which we'll also link to below, and you can read the details of how to make these things better. We've got the best ideas, we've got the best plans. What we need is your support and your continued efforts in doing better to fix what's broken in Washington. That's it for this week. I'll talk to you again next week. Until then, stay strong and be well.